I was driving along Prince Turkey Street. It was around lunchtime and I was feeling hungry. I had already planned to stop somewhere for a good meal. I passed by the tall glass buildings of the city. Then I saw something that made me slow down. A black and white sign stood out like a stamp of heritage. It said Bayt Nazem, which means Nazem's house. Nazem is a man's name, and here it carries pride from Iraq. So I turned into the parking area and stepped out. The front of the restaurant looked sharp and inviting. I saw the modern wooden beams surrounding the glass doors, and the sunlight was shining on the polished floor tiles. This was the Khobar city branch of a well-known Iraqi restaurant. They have other branches in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. But here in the eastern province of Saudi Arabia, this restaurant feels like a piece of Baghdad city in Iraq. This is not just a restaurant, it's a cultural place wrapped in food and family memories. I walked toward the entrance with quite excitement. I came here for lunch, but also for history and flavor. Because when you eat Iraqi food, you taste generations. You feel the warm heart of Mesopotamia in each bite. And on this day, I was ready to explore it all.
Hi guys, this is Yazan. Today I will take you with me to Bayt Nazem restaurant, one of the Iraqi restaurants in Khobar city. I will be ordering several dishes from their menu and I will be giving my honest review. No filters, no fluff. From starters to desserts, we'll be diving into the full experience. So join me today for lunch and let's discover if this place is really worth the hype. If you're ready, I'm ready. Let's give it a try, guys.
I walked into the restaurant and found myself in a space that felt calm and soft. The walls were warm gray and the lights above gave a soft golden glow. Everything looked clean and peaceful, with tables lined up neatly on both sides. The chairs were modern and cozy, with light fabric and soft backs. Some booths had glass partitions, and there was enough space between tables to feel private. The colors were simple, mostly beige and gray, but they felt elegant. The floor was shiny and smooth, and the ceiling was high with stylish lights. There were 2 floors, but the second one was closed that day, maybe for maintenance. I noticed they had an elevator beside the main wall, which made it easy for anyone to access the second floor. There was also a small welcome counter at the back with Arabic writing on the wall. I liked the simple modern style of the restaurant, and I came here for the food today. So I chose a table downstairs and got ready to begin my meal. I opened the menu using the QR code placed on the table. It scanned quickly and opened a digital menu in both Arabic and English. The design was clear and simple with big titles and small pictures for some dishes. The first section showed appetizers like Kibbeh, Eggplant Salad, and soups. Then came the main dishes, where you'll find grilled meat, stuffed vegetables, and stews. They also had a section for rice dishes, which included options like dolma and lamb meat with okra. At the end of the menu, I saw drinks, juices, tea, and traditional desserts. Every item listed the price clearly, and they also added the calories beside each dish. I really liked that part because it helps you plan what to order based on how heavy it is. The portions were not listed, but I could tell from the pictures that most plates were made for sharing. I did not see a separate kids menu anywhere on the QR code pages, but I noticed there were kids in the restaurant eating with their families. So I believe children just share the same food as the adults here. That actually makes sense because the dishes are traditional and home style. You do not need nuggets or fries when you have rice, soup, and soft meat on the table. The food is gentle, flavorful, and cooked in ways that suit all ages. And honestly, a plate of dolma or grilled meat is something even a child would enjoy. The menu felt balanced overall with meat, rice, salads, and the light dishes. But there were not many vegetarian choices, except for appetizers or salads. It's a meat-based kitchen, focused on traditional Iraqi flavors. So if you come hungry, you will find more than enough options to enjoy. The soup came in a small metal bowl, hot and full of aroma. The color was deep gold with tiny circles of oil floating on top. It was pure broth made from bones and meat. Next to it there were slices of lemon waiting to be used. The steam carried a warm smell of cooked lamb meat and gentle spices. It looked simple but comforting and rich. This small bowl holds about 328 calories, so it's light but satisfying. I squeezed the lemon slowly over the soup. The drops fell in and mixed with the golden oil. The smell changed just a little, adding something fresh. I took my spoon and stirred the service gently. Then I tasted it, and it was full of flavor. The broth was light, but deep with meat taste. It had no heavy spices, only what the bones could give. It warmed my throat and relaxed my mood. Each sip made me feel like I was sitting in a family kitchen. There was a smooth balance of salt, meat, and lemon. It was not just a starter, it was part of the whole story. I kept sipping, slow and steady, and the more I drank, the more I enjoyed the rich flavor. This was not a showy dish, but a traditional one with meaning. It's the kind of soup that reminds you of home, and it was a complimentary dish from the restaurant which made it even better. The potato kibbeh arrived on a metal tray with green onions and pomegranate seeds. There were 3 golden pieces, each round and perfectly fried. They looked crispy on the outside with a soft shine from the oil. The deep yellow color came from the potatoes and the frying. The smell was warm and comforting with a little hint of spice. They were placed on a bed of fresh green onions, which gave a nice color contrast. The red pomegranate seeds on top added brightness and a fresh touch. I picked one up and felt the crunchy outside in my fingers. I broke it open and saw the filling inside. The outer layer was soft mashed potato that held its shape, and the center had juicy minced beef mixed with onion and a little oil. The meat was rich and full of black pepper and warm spices. Each bite gave a mix of creamy potato and savory beef. The outside had a slight crunch that balanced the soft middle. Some parts were extra crispy but also slightly oily. I think a lighter touch on the oil would have made it even better. Still, the taste was bold and satisfying from start to finish. It reminded me of something homemade and full of care. The filling was moist with just enough fat to keep it juicy. The potato crust stayed together without falling apart. This is a kind of kibbeh called Kibbeh potato in Iraq. It has 660 calories per portion, so it's rich and filling. It felt like a proper appetizer and a great way to start the meal. The green onions and pomegranate gave a beautiful touch to the plate. I liked the balance of texture and flavor in every bite, and I knew from that first taste that this meal was going to be something special. This dish looked colorful and bright. It arrived in a deep black bowl which made the ingredients shine more. I saw cooked slices of eggplant mixed with red and green pepper strips. Everything looked soft and glossy from the dressing on top. The fried potato sticks added a golden crunch that looked so fresh. Pomegranate seeds were spread like little red jewels. The colors made the dish look happy and full of life. I moved closer and smelled a mix of sweet and smoky notes. The eggplant had that roasted smell that always reminds me of home, and the dressing gave off a tangy scent like pomegranate molasses. In Iraq, this dish is called al-Badhinjaniya al-Iraqiyya. I took my first bite and felt the sweetness first on my tongue. Then it changed into a light sour taste that felt very balanced. The eggplant was soft but not too mushy, and it soaked up the dressing well. The peppers were juicy and added a fresh bite. The fried potato on top gave every bite a crispy finish, and the pomegranate added the freshness and color to the dish. Each spoonful had a mix of soft and crunchy textures. The taste kept changing with every bite, which made it fun to eat. It felt like a hot and cold salad in one dish. The flavors were playful, bold, and very different from any other eggplant salad I tried in the past. You can enjoy this dish with bread or eat it on its own. It works well as a starter, but I can also see it as a full lunch. It has 660 calories, so it's rich but not too heavy. And the taste stayed in my mouth even after I finished it. This was not just a side dish. It was a salad filled with flavor, color, and the soul of Iraq. Locals call it khubz tannour. It's made in a deep clay oven using high heat. The dough is rolled by hand until it becomes thin and round. Then it's pressed onto the hot wall of the oven. This gives it a smoky color and crispy bubbles. The smell is rich like roasted wheat and open fire. Each piece has 270 calories. It's served fresh, warm, and folded in soft layers. Some parts are dark and toasted while others stay light and fluffy. When you hold it, it feels soft and full of heat. It tears gently and steams in your fingers. I love dipping it into stew or wrapping it around grilled meat. It goes well with almost every Iraqi meal. Khubz tannour is simple, honest, and full of tradition. And just holding it makes the meal feel more complete. This dish arrived in a simple round metal tray. At first it looked plain, but I could feel it had something strong to say. The color was deep brown with golden edges that told me it had been cooked well. I saw small chunks of minced meat mixed with chopped onion. Some parts looked soft, while others had crispy golden bites. The smell was heavy and warm, like slow-cooked beef and oil. There was no fancy garnish, no decoration, just honest cooking. Next to the tray was a plate of fresh khubz tannour, which is the traditional Iraqi bread. The bread looked soft inside with a slightly crisp surface. I tore off a small piece and dipped it into the meat. It picked up some oil and onion and held the flavor like sponge. My first bite was rich and juicy with a deep beef flavor. The onions were sweet and soft and they melted in my mouth. Some bites had extra crispy edges which gave a nice contrast. It was a dish full of texture. It was soft, oily, crispy, and warm. There was no need for spice to wake it up. Just salt, black pepper, and heat made the flavor feel real. The meat was not dry at all, and the fat gave it a comforting feel. It felt like something made by hand in a home kitchen. A dish cooked with love and nothing extra. I kept eating slowly and letting the bread do its job. No fork or spoon was needed. Just warm bread and good beef. This dish is called Hameseh Lahm in Iraq. It's known across the country as a simple, filling meal for families. It's made with minced meat, onion, oil, water, and a bit of salt. The ingredients are few, but the flavor is bold. It's usually served hot, and it's made for scooping and sharing. One portion has 1,120 calories, which makes it a strong meal. Each bite reminded me of something from long ago. It's not fancy, but it stays in your memory. I finished the tray with the bread and with a big smile on my face. This is what real comfort food looks like. The plate looked simple but strong. On top of soft white rice, I saw thick lamb ribs resting with pride. They were golden in color and full of aroma. The meat looked like it was slow cooked with care. Next to the meat, I saw a red okra stew. The sauce was smooth, shiny, and rich with tomato. Soft okra pieces floated gently inside the red sauce. All of this sat inside a wide metal tray lined with Iraqi bread. The bread held the juices gently and turned into a tender layer beneath the rice. Slices of fresh lemon sat on the side waiting to be used. The rice had a light red color from the stew, but it stayed fluffy and full. The smell was warm, like home-cooked food with care and time. I touched the rice with my spoon and saw steam rise. Then came the okra stew, which was red, shiny, and full of soft okra. I mixed the rice with the stew slowly and took a small piece of lamb meat. The meat was juicy and tender, and it broke apart without effort. The flavor was deep, like something cooked for hours over low heat. The okra gave the dish a soft texture and a sweet, earthy taste. The tomato sauce was warm, not spicy, but full of flavors. When I squeezed some lemon over the mix, the flavor became brighter. Each bite felt full and round with layers of comfort. The bread underneath soaked everything like a sponge and turned soft like pudding. I loved how the bread, rice, stew, and meat all came together in one spoon. It was not just a plate of food, but a complete story in flavor and texture. This dish is called Delimiya Lahm in Iraq. It brings lamb meat, okra, rice, tomato sauce, and bread into one single meal. It tasted like a family recipe passed through generations. It was calm, warm, and welcoming, with no strong spice, and with just honest flavor. The plate was large and filling, and it has 2010 calories in total. But even with all that weight, I kept eating until only a few okras and bones were left. And that's always the best sign of a good meal. The plate arrived like a celebration. It was white, round, and full of color. Stuffed grape leaves and vegetables were stacked in layers. I saw zucchini, eggplant, green peppers, and onions all filled with rice and minced meat. Everything was soaked in a rich red sauce made with tomato and pomegranate molasses. The smell was deep and sour with a sweet edge that pulled me closer. There were tender lamb meat placed right on top. The meat looked soft and dark with bits falling off the bone. At the bottom, the tray was lined with pieces of Iraqi bread. They held the sauce gently and became a soft, flavorful base. When I flipped the pot into the plate, the dish stayed in shape like a dome. The grape leaves wrapped tightly around the filling and gave a sharp, tangy taste. The vegetables were all cooked perfectly, and they were soft but not falling apart. Each one had soaked in the flavor of the meat and the sauce. The lamb meat were juicy and melted in my mouth, and the pomegranate flavor gave every bite a sweet and sour balance. Some parts were light and herby, while others were bold and savory. The onions were my favorite. They were soft, sweet, and packed with flavor. Each bite felt like it had been cooking for hours. The red sauce was warm and full of depth, and not too spicy but bold. The bread underneath was soft and heavy with flavor. I ate everything with a fork, but sometimes I used the bread too. The meat and rice inside the vegetables were well seasoned and tender. You could taste the dried mint and parsley in the mix. This dish is called Dolma Iraqi. It's cooked in layers, sealed with a plate, and turned out before serving. The cooking method is old, and the flavor is rich with history. One full portion has 1,267 calories. It's heavy, but it feeds both the body and the soul. When the plate was almost empty, I looked at the bread soaked in sauce and ate the last few bites slowly. This was not just a dish. It was a full story of flavor. It set the tone for everything that came after. It's deep, honest, and made from the heart. This warm dessert came in a clay pot. The top was golden and lightly toasted. Sprinkled on top were golden raisins and white coconut powder. The surface had a soft crust, but the middle looked creamy and thick. I could smell vanilla, milk, and something buttery. It felt like a mix between pudding and bread. I took my first spoon and saw steam rising slowly. The texture was soft but not too runny. Inside there were pieces of puff pastry soaked with milk and cream. Each bite melted on my tongue with a mix of sweet and rich flavors. Some parts were soft like warm cake. Other parts were creamy like custard. The raisins added a little chewiness and natural sweetness, and the coconut powder gave a light finish. It was sweet but not too much. This dish is called Ali, and it's a traditional Arabic dessert. It's known all across the Arab countries and originally comes from Egypt. It's usually served during holidays or family gatherings. This serving had 714 calories, so it's filling and comforting. It felt familiar, warm, and made with love, and it ended with a soft sweetness that stayed with me even after the last spoonful. It came in a tall glass bottle with no label. The color was deep red like fresh pomegranate seeds. It looked cold and rich with a soft shine on the surface. When I moved the bottle, the juice moved slowly. That showed it was thick and natural, not watery. It made me curious to take the first sip. I picked it up and took a drink. The taste was sweet and full like real fruit, but there was also a sour edge that felt refreshing. The flavor was balanced and smooth from start to finish. Each sip felt cool and fresh inside my mouth. It was not too sugary, so it tasted clean and honest. The pomegranate flavor stayed strong and real. It reminded me of summer afternoons and family tables. The juice had 170 calories, which gave me a light boost. It was a good way to refresh myself after the main meal, and it added a fruity touch to the whole experience. The drink came cold in a tall glass bottle. It had a bright yellow color that looked fresh and sunny. There were tiny bubbles at the top, so I knew it was just blended. The outside of the glass had a thin layer of moisture that made it look even colder and more refreshing. I shook it a little to mix the juice and foam together. The smell was light and sweet like fresh pineapple pieces. I gave it a quick stir and took my first sip. The texture was soft and full, not watery at all. It had a natural sweetness with no extra sugar, and the flavor was balanced. Each sip cooled my mouth and made me feel more awake. The juice had a clean flavor with no bitter aftertaste. It reminded me of summer mornings and tropical places. Even though it was simple, it felt special. It tasted like real fruit, not something from a bottle or a can. I kept sipping slowly because I did not want it to end. It was smooth enough to enjoy alone or with food. The chill stayed in the glass for a long time, so it was always cold. And with only 82 calories, it was light and guilt-free. It looked simple but refreshing. The glass was cold and slightly foggy from the cold. The drink inside was creamy white with a hint of mint green. You could see little specks of herbs floating near the top. It smelled fresh like homemade yogurt mixed with mint and salt. I picked it up and took a sip. The texture looked thick but easy to sip, so I took my first drink slowly and let it settle on my tongue. The salt came first. It was strong but smooth. Then the mint followed with a cool breeze that softened everything. It felt like the drink was made to slow me down and keep me grounded. Every sip washed away the spices in my mouth and made it feel fresh again. It was cold and creamy but not heavy. The flavor was bold but calming, and the saltiness helped to bring out the flavors of every dish I had before it. This drink is made by mixing strained yogurt with water and salt. Sometimes they add crushed mint or a bit of cucumber. In Iraq, it's known as laban erbil and served during big meals with grilled meat or rice dishes. It's one of those drinks that makes you feel at home. One glass has 209 calories, which makes it light enough to enjoy after a full meal. So a cold glass of this salty yogurt drink brings balance to every bite and peace to the whole table.
أهلا وسهلا، شرفتوا نورتوا بيت ناظم العراقي العاني. أهلا استكانة شاي بغى الشحم واللحم على كيفك.
The meal ended with a moment of quiet tradition. A colorful teapot with bright patterns were carried by a waiter dressed in traditional Iraqi attire. Inside was a strong black tea, deep in color and full of history. This is Iraqi tea, known as chai Iraqi. It's brewed slowly with loose tea leaves and cardamom. The tea was served in a small clear glass that looked simple and elegant. Steam rose from the cup, carrying a calm scent that filled the air around me. Every sip felt bold and smooth, not bitter and not sweet. It had only 10 calories, but the flavor was rich and lasting. Iraqis enjoy this tea at any time of day, with or without food. And this one was made in the proper way, slowly with patience. The cardamom gave a soft spice that warmed my mouth. It tasted like something from the past that still feels familiar, like long conversations, family visits, and peaceful afternoons. Some call it chai muluki, which means royalty, because it's brewed the old way, with charcoal or fire, and served hot even on warm days in a small glass called istikane in Iraqi dialect. It's more than just a drink, it's a part of a tradition in Iraq. It replaces noise with calm, and it slows down the moment, and it left me thankful for the quiet beauty of a final sip. The price of the potato kibbeh is 23 Saudi Riyal. The price of the Iraqi Eggplant Salad is 24 Saudi Riyal. The price of the meat Hameseh is 42 Saudi Riyal. The price of the meat Delimiya is 84 Saudi Riyal. The price of the Iraqi Dolma is 79 Saudi Riyal. The price of the Ali is 20 Saudi Riyal. The price of the pomegranate juice is 15 Saudi Riyal. The price of the pineapple juice is 17 Saudi Riyal. The price of the Laban Arpini is 12 Saudi Riyal. The total plus the value added tax is 316 Saudi Riyal. Now it's time to give my final rating for this experience. Let me begin with the food. The menu covered classic Iraqi dishes with calorie information, which is helpful. I appreciated that they included grape leaf dolma, eggplant salad, and potato kibbeh. The dolma was rich, full of flavor, and served in a traditional way, flipped onto a tray lined with bread. The meat was soft, the vegetables were well stuffed, and the sauce had deep pomegranate flavor. The okra dish was generous and balanced, with lamb meat on top and soft rice underneath. But some dishes felt slightly oily, especially the meat Hameseh and potato kibbeh. The presentation was traditional, but I wished for a few more fresh herbs or visual garnishes. The Ali dessert was hot and layered well, not too sweet or too milky. And the tea at the end gave a beautiful finish. So I will give the food a strong 4.6 out of 5. Now let me talk about the service. The staff were welcoming and quick to explain. They offered complimentary meat soup which showed hospitality. They also served juice and tea with attention to timing and tradition. But I noticed that the second floor was closed when I arrived, and the staff seemed unsure whether to open it or not. It felt a little unprepared for early customers. Still, the waiter was polite and served with a smile. So I will give the service a fair 4.5 out of 5. And now the atmosphere. The seating area was simple but clean, and I liked the natural light from the windows. There was traditional Arabic music in the background, but the decor could be stronger. For an Iraqi restaurant, I hope to see more cultural elements like Khobar bats, Arabic calligraphy, or wall art showing Baghdad city or the Tigris. The outside sign also looked quiet, almost like the place was closed from far away. But inside, the energy was friendly and the space felt calm and comfortable. So I will give the atmosphere 4.3 out of 5. Parking is available for free in the plaza where the restaurant is located. A wheelchair ramp at the entrance makes it easy for everyone to come in comfortably. And with that, this visit to Bayt Nazem ends with full plates, warm tea, and a taste of Iraq that stays with you long after the last bite.
This was my experience today at Bayt Nazem restaurant. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, drop a comment down below, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching. And just remember, each bite tells a story. See you next one. Bye.